We are Be Well Health and Wellness Consultants, and we're inviting you into our toughest and most honest conversations with each other.
We believe in honest, educated, science-based health promotion and that everyone should have access to this kind of information.
Tune in to hear our hearts for you as we uncover the not-so-pretty side of the health and wellness industry on the Healthy is Hard podcast. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Healthy is Hard podcast. Today we have a very exciting treat. I'm excited about it. We are going to be hearing mostly from Tony today because he is our fitness professional expert, most knowledgeable person here on the team, and he's going to share with us some great info on HIIT versus steady state cardio workouts, exercise. I don't know a whole lot about exercise and fitness and that whole background, so I'm really excited to learn alongside you guys today. And I am going to let you just go right out of the gate with what's your top thought on it when this comes to mind?
All right. So with my top thought when it comes from high intensity interval training, also short-term HIIT versus steady state cardio. Now, the biggest misconception, or I guess confusion, would be steady state versus what I've also been hearing these days called LISS cardio.
Okay,
So
heard of that.
LISS, so low intensity steady state. When I hear LISS, and that's more on like the bodybuilding scene, you see a lot of people just walking on a treadmill. So pretty much walking or like an incline walk on a treadmill is more targeted for that LISS. And steady state, in my definition, could be, I would say, like jogging, because that's a constant, steady pace of cardio. And now there's a big difference between that steady state that I just said and LISS. So let's put this little comparison together. Say I'm running on a treadmill and my goal is to burn 200 calories, right?
Okay.
Now, if you take a LISS cardio session and a steady state cardio session, so walking versus just, let's say, jogging, in order to hit that 200 calories on a walk, you'd most likely have to walk for about an hour to burn that 200 calories. And that's even on top of an incline, say 4 to 5% incline.
Y'all, I'm pulling my notes out. This is good stuff here. I am right alongside you guys today.
Now, when I hear a lot of people say, and I always refer to the bodybuilding side because there is a lot of lacking of knowledge when it comes to the cardio, because you hear this myth saying, oh, I'm going to burn muscle if I run,
right.
Which to me is a bunch of bogus, because why spend an hour walking in place when you could run for half the time and burn the same amount of calories? So what I mean by that, let's take that 200 calories that I said, and your target time for the walking is about an hour, right? You're literally walking for an hour to burn 200 calories. Now, when your heart rate is at 50%, that's when you're targeting more fat. So if you find a pace on the treadmill for a run that is keeping your heart rate at 50% of your max heart rate, all right, you can burn the same amount of calories, but more calories from fat rather than your carbohydrates. So
Okay.
if you're at that 50% max heart rate for your cardio, you're burning more fat calories than you are carbohydrate calories. So that's when people ask me for like my cardio, when I implement into a training program, they ask me, why do you have me running? What about walking? I see all these people walking. I was like, I don't want you wasting your time. And like 30 minutes could be time for you to go do something else. People miss stretching. People don't stretch. You could use that time to do yoga or stretch. You can prioritize that 30 minutes that you're wasting away walking when you could be doing something else with your life that's more beneficial. Does that make sense?
Very cool. So that's a huge misconception that even I had. I just didn't really understand really even, I mean, I know that anytime you move your body, you burn calories in some form, but there's kind of a disconnect there, because I think a lot of people understand that piece, but then how we get from that understanding to the like walking or jogging or running as an exercise, there's just a disconnect there in my brain. So I'm sure a lot of other people don't really understand that either. So I have a question for you already. There's going to be a lot.
All right.
So for the running versus jogging, does it really make a difference, or is it just whatever state your body is at that 50% heart rate capacity?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And everybody can be different because of age as far as your max heart rate. Um, so, I mean, the basic version of finding it is just take your age and subtract that by 220, right?
Okay.
And that's just the baseline of your max heart rate. Now, there's more calculations.
Right.
Um, I completely forgot what like the in-depth calculation is. It's more for when you're getting tested in a lab
Right.
for your
Yeah.
heart rate and stuff like that. So when you want to find that max heart rate, find that for you. Like if you can talk, if you can talk perfectly fine, then while you're running, say perhaps, you have enough energy to up that intensity.
Okay.
Stop. I mean, yeah, if you have an injury, don't push it to the limit.
Right.
But if you can have a comfortable conversation and you're not out of breath, you can clearly up your intensity. And that's like a baseline judgment when it comes to cardio. You should be able to simple tasks. Like if I can have a conversation with you on the treadmill, we're not working hard enough.
Right. Awesome. Okay, so that's really helpful. So very obviously here, finding that point, and making sure that you're in a safe range and not overdoing it when trying to find your maximum. It's really important to work with a professional and not just kind of take this and go like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go until like I pass out. That's not that's not how it works. But that is helpful for people like me, I feel like, because even now I just understand that even though it seems like, because here's another misconception that you may have a couple comments on, when it translates in my phone. So I don't put a whole lot of weight on calories at all, really. I know what range that I should be in for my body, and that's where I aim to stay in. And I exercise every day because it makes me feel good not to burn a set number of calories. But I know that in my phone, when it pulls up as me doing a HIIT workout or yoga, or sometimes I'll do a bar class or going on a walk or a run, the calories seem to vary so differently. And sometimes it seems that if I go for a run, I feel like I burn less calories than I should, but that could be just because I don't enjoy running. But then too, sometimes I will work out so hard and do this HIIT class, I'll be completely out of breath. I'll be like sweating like I've never sweat before. And I'll look at the thing and it'll say maybe like 150 calories. And I'm expecting, the way I'm feeling, I'm expecting it's like 500 or something.
Yeah.
So can you kind of speak to that, maybe why it happens, or your thought on hearing someone say that?
Well, let me ask you this. What are you using to track that? Are you like an Apple Watch or something?
So that's the other thing. And even with something like the Apple Watch, it's still so, like, it's not exactly accurate. And I see that with tools like MyFitnessPal for nutrition tracking. The calories are not always spot on. So I know better. And even still, I'll look at it and be like, are you sure that's right?
Yeah.
So I don't have an Apple Watch. I use, when I go on a run, I will use like an armband and slip my phone in it and use, now I forget it. It's not the MyFitnessPal, it's the other one for like tracking your workouts. It's
Is
another
it
app.
Training Club, Nike Training Club? No.
Not the Nike one, it's, let me find it. And then for my Map My Fitness, that's what it is.
Okay. So yeah, when you're using the technology to get your heart rate, you're not going to get anything accurate unless it's an actual heart rate monitor that goes right on your sternum.
Okay.
All right. So if you use one of those, that is going to be the most accurate piece of technology you can use to find that calorie burn.
Gotcha.
Because like using a radial pulse is really not as good as having that beat literally right next to your chest.
Right. And so what he's talking about there, we use it in testing if we're working in an office with people, is like a strap. It has Velcro and it stretches and it goes right under, for a woman, your bra line right up here. And it's a little piece of whatever the heart rate monitor is.
Yeah.
And it lays just about right here. So really almost directly on top of where your heart is. So that's what he's talking about, the radial pulse down here, a whole arm length away from your heart, versus the sternum monitor, which is right in that general vicinity.
And for women, if you're listening and you decide to go pick up a heart rate monitor, your bra has special lining in it that can mess with the signal of the heart rate too. So make sure it doesn't have any of that metal wiring or anything in the bra strap, because you're going to end up putting your bra on top of the heart rate monitor, kind of, because that's where basically it'll lay. Right. So if you have that wiring inside the bra, it can throw the numbers off as well, because the whole connection between the two.
Very interesting. Okay. Oh, so cool. This is just great information. So I think another question that a lot of people listening to this episode are going to want to know, I also want to know, full disclosure here, is when you see people come in and they're not hitting their goals and they tell you that they have been either running super hard or they've been doing HIIT 7 days a week, what is your most common thing that you see that I guess when people come in and they're like, I'm just not hitting my goals, but I'm doing all these things, and what the heck, it should be working?
So when I take that question, in reality, it's always just I ask them, well, what are you doing other than your HIIT cardio or your steady state? The same answer is, well, that's all I'm doing. Now, I've been in the situation where I've worked with clients and I've taught a class that is specifically a high intensity class, and it's a monthly fee. They sign up and they do a circuit 5-6 days a week, right. And they do that for 3-4 months at a time, and they stop losing weight at a certain amount of time. Yes, you hear that high intensity interval training is going to burn fat and build muscle, but that's only for so long. You can't just stick with the cardio and like the body weights. You truly need to, once you say, hey, I'm not reaching my goals anymore, that's when you need to start adding the resistance training with weights, with bands. You need to stimulate your muscles some other way, because your body is finally adapted to that workout that you've been doing, and you're no longer going to overachieve anything. Your muscles are going to stop acting and working. That's when you need to like push and do something different, because your muscles are already used to it. So they're not going to change. They're adapting to how you're doing it. So they're going to work the way to perform rather than build, if that makes any sense.
Very much sense. That's very interesting. And I assume that that timeline is entirely dependent on each individual person. Like there's no set time of like, hey, after 3 months, if you're only doing this type of workout, you're probably going to hit a wall.
Well, the thing is too, and it depends on your level of activity. If you're having a brand new novice beginner at working out, they are going to see 2 to 3 times more progress than somebody like me that's been working out hard for 7-8 years now.
Right.
They could, if they were to do a program that I designed, they would probably lose 15 or build muscle, however, say 10 pounds or lose 15 pounds within the first month. Whereas me, I'd be struggling to gain half because I'm already used to the workouts. They're not. Their muscles have not been stimulated that well.
Right.
Now, if you take somebody that's advanced, right, you need to do something that they're not already doing. So say they're a power lifter, right? They're doing 5x5 on a bench press, deadlift, squat. Okay. Now on those 3 lifts, is that all you do is put weights on the side? On a squat, why don't you throw chains around the outside? So when you're at the bottom, the chain is now sitting on the ground and there's no extra weight. But when you push off the ground, that chain is now dragging and adding more weight the higher you go up on the squat. You know what I'm saying? You need to stimulate your muscles in different ways than it's what it's already used to. If
Okay.
you're doing a deadlift, all right, put bands around the side and hook it to the ends of a squat rack. So at the top of your pull, that's where the most heavy is.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you need to, there's always ways to add and subtract from what you're doing to make your muscles keep growing. Because if not, you're just going to be stuck.
Right. Okay, so get creative is what you're saying.
Pretty, yeah.
All right. So next question, in your professional opinion, what is, I guess, what do you kind of give your clients to see the most results without hitting that wall? Do you recommend, I'll give you the two options and then you can go wherever you want with it. Do you recommend doing one specific type of workout for a certain amount of time and then switching it up? Or do you recommend adding in different types of workouts consistently?
That's interesting. And if you want me to say, I'll say both. Because once
Okay.
again, that question tailors back to your level.
Okay.
So the more advanced, the more variety I'm going to give you. I'm
Okay.
going to keep changing the progress. If you're a novice, I'm going to give you the exact same exercises, the exact same rep ranges, but just add a little bit more weight each week. And then once a month goes by, I will change the workout.
Okay. Very interesting. I don't think that was the answer I was expecting.
Yeah. So if you are a client that's been working out 2-3 years and say Monday's chest day, right? If we're going to go with like a 5-day isolation split, say usually you do bench press and then you follow it up with like cable flies and dips, right? That next chest workout, I'll switch it up to incline dumbbells followed by a pec deck followed by a reverse bench. Like I will switch the type of workouts you're doing, and you can't see me anymore.
There you are.
But yeah, so pretty much at more advanced, more variety, novice, the more basic.
Okay, interesting. That is that's pretty cool. So I know you are more kind of focused on people with, specific programs, but for the people that really just enjoy and it's easier for them to work out when they're doing a class type thing. So Zumba classes, yoga classes, like Zone 4 or Orange Theory type things like that. What is your recommendation there? The same as what you just said, or does it kind of vary there?
So you're just saying somebody that has a gym membership and kind of just does the classes? Is that what you're kind of asking?
Yeah, more so because I know if I have a trainer, if I'm working with someone one on one, I can do like the things you were just saying, like those weighted or cardio exercises that you tell me to do. But if not, I prefer like a class. So like I said earlier, I do like a bar class on Monday, and then I'll do arms on Tuesday, HIIT on Wednesday, legs on Thursday, yoga on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So I mix it up a lot, and I like the diversity, and I like the sort of more class type schedule, if that makes sense. So do you have, I guess, just any tips or thoughts on that?
I'm gonna be upfront about that,
Please do.
and I'm gonna take my honest opinion is step out of your comfort zone. I've told people I understand you love doing this class, but if you truly want to reach that physique goal, mind state goal, you need to get out of your comfort zone. So if you're somebody that does a class 6-7 days a week, you need to take that time to invest in maybe just 1 or 2 sessions with a professional for them to teach you different fundamentals of resistance training or a different type of cardio. Because if you're doing classes and the classes almost stay the same and they're constantly the same movements and same intensity, you can't really change that because you're already taking your cardio to the highest level during a Zumba class. It's not like you can just speed it up even further and further and further. There's going to be a point where you can't take your body to a higher speed.
Right.
That's when you need to implement different, more challenging things. A lot of people that they're afraid to go out into the gym, right? And I speak more on the ladies because they feel afraid or belittled whenever they go into the weight section.
Yes.
That's when I've been insecure before, and that's when I try to get that mental strength. I'm like, you need to not care what anybody thinks about you. The whole point of going to the gym is to better who? Yourself. So at the end of the day, it's going to be on the client if they're mentally prepared to take that bigger step. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to better yourself. You shouldn't care what anybody thinks. And if you still care what anybody thinks, then that's something to battle with yourself. And if you can beat that battle, that's how you grow even bigger.
So I really am glad that you brought that up, because that is, really the core of what we believe, is that you have to be ready mentally to make a serious change before you even take a step in your nutrition, in your fitness, in anything, a new job, raising a child. I mean, there's so many different areas of life that this applies to. And just knowing that, if you're working with the right person, that is the focus first. So really cool there. Okay, so a couple minutes left. I want to ask you, I just want to know more about like which each one is, so I can kind of like feel better about choosing. So would you take a couple minutes to break down both the high intensity interval training and then the steady state cardio, kind of like exactly what they are, average, kind of like you said earlier, how the running versus walking burns more fat than carbohydrates, just like some big tips that are going to blow people's minds.
Yeah.
On each of them.
So let's start with high intensity, because I never even really touched on that part. So there's the two types of usage of the way you do the cardio, right? You're going to have your anaerobic and you're going to have your aerobic. So anaerobic is without oxygen. So sprints, you can do a 10-meter sprint without even taking a breath, right? So those fast sprints is when you're going to use that ATP that you have very quickly. And then anaerobic is with oxygen. So that'll be your mile, your 2 mile, your 3 mile. So when you're doing your high intensity, say you're 30 seconds on and a 15-second rest, right? That's what high intensity is. You're picking a certain time frame to do exercises. Typically it's 45 seconds to a minute when you're doing a bunch of reps for that whole amount of time. All right. And then you have 15 to 20 seconds to catch your breath before you have another round. So when you're doing that high intensity, and actually here's the biggest thing that people have a problem with, and this can apply to resistance training as well as far as muscle growth. When you have that block, that time frame or a rep range, you want to have enough energy to complete that time without jeopardizing your fatigue. Because if you can complete that 45 seconds to a minute with all the effort you have without getting fatigued, the more you're going to grow and the more you're going to burn, right? So also with the resistance training, you have 8 to 12 reps. You hit that 12 rep mark without getting fatigued, and then you have enough rest time, right, to go back and do the next set with the same amount of effort. Because if you're going to the next set and you can't hit that 12 rep range like you did before, then that means you should add more rest time, because just because you slow the rest time down doesn't mean you're going to burn more calories, if that makes sense. If you can execute an exercise with the most effort that you have to the best advantage, the better you're going to burn, the better you're going to build.
So you would say if you can't do the full interval of on time, then you add more rest time instead of lower the intensity of the on time.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I have a lot of people struggle 40 seconds on, 20 seconds rest. I have people and say they have 3 rounds of that exercise, right? Mm-hmm. By the second or third round, they're getting to 20 seconds and they're starting to fade.
Okay.
That's defeating the purpose of trying to get the most out of you as you can during that time frame. So if you have 40 seconds of high knees, right, get enough rest time so that next round you can do another 40 seconds of high knees. Because if you're dying at 30 seconds, then you're already losing the amount of effort.
Okay. So instead of like doing a walking high knee, add more rest time.
Add 5 to 10 seconds rest that won't jeopardize that next set.
So that
Because
you can come back
remember,
the next time and go running high knees for the whole time.
yeah, because remember, you're burning calories from just breathing too. So your breathing rate's already jacked through the roof from that 40 seconds.
Right.
So adding a few more seconds to a rest time is not going to jeopardize anything. When I hear people say, come on, your rest time's over, and then you're dying 10 seconds into the next set, you're losing potential there.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
with high
Very interesting.
intensity, I would always base your rest time off your effort levels and your energy levels. Don't listen to somebody say, oh, you're about to start, we got to go. And then literally 5-10 seconds in the next set, you're dead already. So adjust that rest time to make sure you can put all your effort into that next round. And then your body will get more out of it. Now,
Very cool.
I typically assign HIIT cardio in programs to people that want to shed body fat and tone up, right? Especially bodybuilders and physique competitors, they should stop walking on the treadmill because you're literally wasting all your time.
Okay.
Do the HIIT cardio. It's a quarter. You can literally get a quarter you can burn the same amount of calories in a quarter amount of time that you are walking.
Right.
So in my opinion, for HIIT, it's a lot more efficient and it's time efficient even more.
Great.
So, and then for steady state, the big thing with the cardio is how you react. I know either last episode or the first episode, I talked about experimenting with yourself. You have to figure out what works for you because not everything works for everybody else. I found what works for me to burn. If I want to get rid of body fat, I run. I'll run a mile a day. That's enough cardio because I'm also 235 pounds. That's enough cardio for me to get going.
Right.
But if somebody is even bigger, they might need that higher intensity to keep it going. Because I also lift heavy too. So my intensity for my resistance training is already burning that calories. That steady state mile that I'm doing is just going to add that little bit more that I need to get that fat off. So when it comes to programming steady state and HIIT to somebody, I tell them it's going to be experimenting. We're going to find what works for you.
So it's not necessarily kind of like one versus the other in terms of mixing it up. It's almost one versus the other in terms of what your body reacts to best.
Yeah. And in my opinion, do both. So I like to
across
the board. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I like to do typically, I like to do my cardio before I start working out. Now that's just me. I don't typically, like a strength athlete should definitely not do cardio before they run or before they work out because they need all their energy to push the weights when they lift. So running is just going to deplete their energy levels. So they should save that obviously for the end of their workout, right? So picking the programming and the types of cardio for the athlete or the client or whatever, whoever you're working with is based on what they're trying to achieve. Now, I've programmed and I have had a client in the past. His beginning of the workout was jump ropes, box jumps, high knees, like HIIT workouts, right? He went into his training block of 30 to 40 minutes of resistance training, pushing weights. And then the end of his workout was a mile run. That steady state cardio at the end of your workout can also help your body loosen up, get some of that lactic acid out while you're running and just keep your body moving rather than stiffening up right after the workout. So it's always good to add both too, because there's a benefit too.
Very cool. So whereas HIIT is more for burning and toning, am I hearing that steady state is kind of almost more for burning and loosening up a little bit?
Functionality is what I would say.
I like that.
Keeps your hips mobile. If people are complaining, if they're running on the treadmill and they're complaining their shins are hurting, get some cleats or something and run on the grass. That'll take pressure off of whatever you're running on.
Very, very interesting. Okay. Very cool. So Oh, this is so much information to take in. I don't think I have any more questions off the top of my head. Do you have anything else that you want people to know about HIIT versus steady state cardio?
I just want people to understand how to really decide what they want to do. So if you're a strength athlete, if you're a power lifter, don't neglect cardio. Still implement that because that's functionality. At the end, cardio is great functionality for your cardiorespiratory system, right? Like I say before, longevity is what we should be looking for, not that short term. Because if you're powerlifting, you're lifting heavy, eating 1,000,000 calories, by the time you're 50 or 60, you're going to be walking up the stairs and barely making it because you can't breathe as well, right? So that cardio is a great functionality tool. As far as HIIT cardio, right? If you have an older client, maybe HIIT cardio is a little too much for them, you know, or you can take the HIIT cardio, modify the exercises so they're not impactful on their joints. With a younger person, they have 1,000,000 times more energy, right? They're still elastic. They can do a lot more exercises. They're more versatile. Crank that intensity level to the max and get them going. That's what's really going to drive them to achieve what they're trying to do. So pick apart your cardio, pick apart your goals, know and learn over time, study how your body is reacting to these type of cardios. Like I said, if I want to burn fat, I run. People are like, why do you run? You're big. You're going to burn muscle. Am I starving? Am I dying of starvation? I'm not going to burn muscle because muscle is not a primary source of energy.
Right. I just coached on that last night. Oh, love it when that happens. That will be a whole extra episode because
I'll save that because I'll save that. I was about to say something.
So much, and it's so good, but it's just like so many misconceptions there, just like I feel like with this topic that we talked about tonight. So definitely something that keep coming back if you want to know about that. But I lied. I do have one more question. I think this kind of topic comes up mostly for people that are focusing on wanting to lose fat, lose weight, they're overweight, and they're just starting out with exercise and they know that they need to make a change. What would you say to those people? Should they start with one versus the other? Again, should they just experiment? Is there a certain place that they should jump in? What's your overall thought on cardio only, I guess, for that first state of like, hey, I got to do something. I need to lose some weight.
Okay. So if we're taking out resistance training as a whole, because typically my first resort would be start doing resistance training because it burns more fat than anything else.
Okay. So that's a good thought there because I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah. And for women as well, and women are still, and I hate to target the women, but a lot of them come to me and say, and I've had clients, why are we doing these shoulders exercises? I don't want to look big. I'm doing these shoulders exercises so you can burn more fat. It depends on your training. So if I was going to make Bailey, if you were my client and I wanted you to get bigger shoulders, you would know when I'm trying to give you bigger shoulders.
Okay.
If I'm just having you do 3 sets of 10 of lateral raises with 10 pounds, I'm just getting your shoulders moving and I'm burning calories. If I was trying to get your shoulders to look like The Rock, I'd be giving you 35-pound dumbbells and doing 8 to 10 reps to failure. And then, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
cool.
Yeah, there's a big pit pocket there. But as far as somebody that just wants to lose weight, and say it's somebody that is just now getting into trying to lose the weight, they haven't done anything in the past, right? Start it off and increase it each week. If you're somebody that literally does not do a single bit of cardio, 1 time a week is all I'm going to do for the first week. Second week, I'm going to do 1 time a week, but I'm going to add more time to that cardio. All right.
Gotcha.
I do that for 3 weeks. And then 4th week, twice a week, but back down to the same time that you were doing it once a week.
Okay. Awesome. That is, I think, a really, really great advice for the listeners. Because I have never heard, when you're just starting out, any type of basic kind of formula like that. And I think that's a really helpful place to be like, hey, I don't have to start going on runs every single day this small change is going to start the ball rolling. And that's actually the best way to do it to ensure your safety and the results you want in the long term. So I just want to come back to this point one time to reiterate, because I think this is what I'm learning the more that I sit down and chat with you. Resistance strength training is really the best way to burn fat.
Yep.
All right. I will just leave you with that. That is, I think, definitely a mind shift for me. And I think a lot of people at home today. So do you have any final thoughts on anything we chatted about today?
No, I just want people to finally open up and at the end of the day, speak to something. And I know a lot of people that have similar mindset to I do, but they don't speak up about it. And now I finally have this platform that me and you are using to finally let out the truth behind it. Because if you're going on and everybody's getting brainwashed by these companies online, right? And they're getting stuck and now they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So don't always assume because it's popular on the internet.
Yeah.
You're your own individual. You need to talk to somebody that knows the versatility in a human body and then get to going on yourself, and not because there's an 8-pack you found on the internet, you're going to get ripped. Figure out what you need to do. Figure out the difference between these exercises, what works, what doesn't, what's beneficial, not beneficial, time efficient, not time efficient. All those variables is what's going to create you. So I'll just leave that at that.
You heard it here first, folks. That was amazing advice. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise on this. That is, I just feel it in my bones. I know that this episode is going to change some lives and change some mindsets big time. So thank you so much for sharing your value today. I know people at home are going to leave us a comment that they are thankful for this. So good. All right, come back and listen to this again and again, y'all. This was jam-packed with information. I have a full sheet of notes here. So when you have a chance, sit down with a pen and paper and write it down, because that's another way that you can get it into your brain and really learn. So anyways, great stuff. Thank you so much. We will talk to you guys soon. If you have any questions or want more expounding on this episode, please reach out, send us a message on Instagram or Facebook. We would be honored to connect with you and help you learn more.
Definitely.
Thanks. All right. We will see you guys soon.
Take care.
Have a good one. It was our greatest honor to take up space in your world today. Please share this episode to your social media pages and tag us at BeWellHWC. Cheers to you, friend, for choosing better for yourself starting today. It won't be easy, but it'll be worth it. Subscribe to the show and learn how to make healthy less hard, one tip at a time.